In 2007, my husband, he committed suicide in jumping off a building in Amsterdam. And after that, I was actually a whole year stressed out, in pain, emotionally upset. I was angry. I didn't know how to continue my life without him and the kids not having a father. 6 weeks after that, I was working again. I was having a practice, a psychotherapy practice. For 3 or 4 months, I couldn't sleep. And then I started using alcohol. I started drinking 2 glasses of wine so I could get into sleep. But in the morning when I would wake up, the whole emotional state in which I was in at that time was there, immediately popped up again. I couldn't relax, but I kept on going. And then 1 year later, at a Friday, I was at my work. I was tired, I was stressed out. And then from one moment at the other, I was talking to 2 colleagues, and then I couldn't stand up anymore. I couldn't walk. And they called immediately emergency number, and then I was taken into the hospital. And there they started doing a lot of examinations on the body, like scans. They thought maybe I had a brain injury or attack, or bleeding. They didn't know what caused actually that I couldn't walk anymore. They found out it was not in my brain. They found out it was in the back, in the cauda area. And in that area there was an inflammation. They didn't know what the inflammation did come from, but they started treating me immediately with dexamethasone, which is corticosteroids, very high dose. And I was in the hospital for a few weeks on dexamethasone, but it actually didn't really get better. So then they didn't know what was really going on. They told me it's an autoimmune reaction from the nerve system on what they didn't know, but they called it a neuritis. And I was released after 6 weeks out of the hospital without knowing the cause of why I couldn't walk. And I lost everything in that year. I was disabled, I couldn't walk, I lost my husband, I went really down. I got ulcers in my mouth. I got ulcers in the certain epithelium of the mucous membranes in the mouth, in the esophagus, which was even worse. And I was in pain. I was in constant pain, and that was actually the reflection of how I felt inside. I was in pain. So then I continued again with corticosteroids, not knowing that taking these corticosteroids actually suppressed my immune system. So my whole physical condition got worse and worse and worse. I had no vitality, I had no energy, I was depressed, I was in an emotional state of going between anger and hopelessness and helplessness and totally not knowing where to go with myself. And then in January 2011 I got a diagnosis of esophagus cancer because the erosive ulceration of the mucous membrane sometimes gives cancer. I had 2 options, chemo or operation. And the operation I said, okay, I'm not going to take. I just try first the chemo, maybe that will help. I believed them. I believed the doctors telling me that that would cure me. From the moment they gave me the first chemo, my heart rate went up to 200 and something. I felt nauseous, I felt so awful. Then I actually at that moment already wanted to pull it out, but they told me to keep it going in, because that would be the best thing to do. But 2 hours later, I said, I want this out. I want this out of my body. So then they pulled the infusion out and I walked out of the hospital and I said, I'm not going to go back there anymore. That was in January 2011. Then a friend of mine, which is with me, Margaret, she had gone to Joe Dispenza's workshop in 2010. And she told me that he was coming to the Netherlands again. And then she said to me, you have to come there, maybe you try this. I went there, and already after the weekend, I felt that I walked out differently. If not the chemo, then why not try to heal myself? If I found out in that weekend, the first weekend with Joe, that thoughts can really make us sick. And I found out that I had one huge thought since 2007 I was carrying around. My husband should not have committed suicide and he should not have left his children alone. So that thought, these thoughts actually created the stress in my body, the anger, the sadness, like, my God, how could he have done this?
And to bless the power within you.
After that weekend, I made a decision to start meditating daily, and I started the work first on my own, and then I started talking with people about it, and they were supporting me. And my kids, they supported me. They said, Mom, if this is going to help you, we support you. I would start meditating in the evening around 9:30, and then I would sit with it till I really felt I'm whole, I'm having more energy, I'm joyful, I'm happy person, I can do this, it will work. All these changes that I had to tell myself instead of the whole identity I was going to believe, like the woman who was badly walking, the woman who had lost everything, you know, I was that, I was a victimized person. And I decided to not be victimized anymore. I decided at that point I can go on living, I can heal my life, and I finally will enjoy my life again. So that's the thing that I told myself to do after the first weekend with Joe. So it was really a life change experience for me. In 2013, I got a gastroscopy and it was gone. The cancer was gone. I don't know what did it, just meditated. I just was there every day with it, and seeing myself like I'm a healthy person, I'm fit, I'm happy, I have a good life, I earn money again, and I'm healthy. That was my main thing, but I knew that I had to be healthy up here, and especially the emotions, because they are sometimes so strong, and the environment is also like, oh, you know, if you have cancer, the environment reacts like you have cancer, you know, and wow, and they treat you differently, and you even go and react like that. Oh, I have cancer, you know. And at one point I stopped, I told nobody anymore anything about the condition I was in. Nobody. I stopped even talking about whatever. I stopped also talking about my husband's suicide, because I decided to not go there anymore emotionally. And that helped me to heal myself for all these years now, because that's 2011 and we are now in 2014. Everything that I was suffering of, which was a physical condition and emotional condition and mental condition, because it's a three-dimensional thing that's going on, is changed. Like, I walk again, I have enough muscle power to walk without crutches, I bike again, I do all the things I love. I cannot run, but that's okay. I see myself running in a few years again, but I do the things I do. I work again, I look after my kids, and I'm a happy person.